Hello, Ronnie and Via. Welcome to Autism Knows No Borders.
Thank
Hi.
you. Hi.
Ronnie, could you please introduce yourself?
Saya adalah pemilik dari Rumah Tiara, partner Global Autism Project di Indonesia.
Hello everyone. I am Maharani Putri Kusuma. I'm the owner of Rumah Tiara, partner of Global Autism Project.
Thank you. And Via, could you please introduce yourself?
Hi everyone. I am Via. I used to work in Rumah Tiara and now I am in Abu Dhabi.
Yes, and Via will be helping with interpreting from Bahasa to English today. So thank you, Via.
No worries.
Ronnie, what is the current understanding of autism in Indonesia?
Oke, Rani. Jadi apa yang kamu ketahui dan mengerti tentang keadaan autisme di Indonesia itu bagaimana?
Kalau untuk kondisi autisme di Indonesia, sebenarnya penerimaan mengenai autisme di Indonesia itu sudah berkembang cukup baik belakangan hari ini.
Well, the acceptance in Indonesia, especially in Jakarta, has grown so much that people are more aware with autism.
Dan semakin banyak komunitas-komunitas orang tua dan masyarakat yang peduli sama anak-anak berkebutuhan khusus di Indonesia.
Yeah, there's a lot of growing communities between parents and the educators that concern about autism in Indonesia itself.
Kemudian juga banyak informasi mengenai penanganan autisme itu sendiri yang bisa diakses sama orang tua di berbagai sosial media ya, seperti Facebook, Instagram, dan lain sebagainya.
So many information that parents or educators can access about autism. So that is also a good point that is growing and happening in Indonesia.
Ya, tapi meskipun begitu, karena Indonesia sangat luas dan pembangunan tidak rata, jadi ada beberapa daerah yang masih kesulitan mendapatkan tempat untuk terapi dan sekolah yang bisa menerima mereka.
However, because Indonesia is such a large country and it's still developing a lot, so outside Jakarta, even like outside Java, it's still very hard and it's quite inaccessible for the parents to get the treatment and information about autism.
Ya, dan karena itu sehingga mereka sulit mengembangkan diri mereka dengan baik di masa yang akan datang.
So that's why a lot of people with autism are struggling to improve their quality of life.
What services are available for families from the point of diagnosis?
Jadi ini kita masih gambaran di Indonesia itu servisnya apa aja yang ada di Indonesia yang bisa diakses sama keluarga gitu sih, Kak?
Sebenarnya banyak ya tempat terapi di Indonesia, terutama khususnya di Jakarta gitu kan. Karena memang Jakarta kan big city ya. Di beberapa kota besar di Indonesia banyak kita dapetin kayak terapi perilaku, ada terapi SI, terapi sensori integrasi, okupasi terapi, dan banyak terapi-terapi lain yang bisa diakses sama orang tua untuk dapat menangani perilaku anak-anak mereka.
Well, there are a lot of types therapy that is accessible and available for the family, such as sensory integration, and then occupational therapy, also speech language therapy. Yeah.
Tapi untuk dapat akses itu membutuhkan biaya yang sangat besar gitu kalau misalnya di Indonesia. Jadi nggak semua orang bisa mengakses itu dengan mudah.
However, one of the concern to access these therapies is it requires a lot of financial. So a lot of families are struggling to get the services for their children um, because of the amount of money that they needed.
Is the government providing any support?
Yes.
Apakah pemerintah menyediakan bantuan untuk keluarga ini?
Bantuan secara finansial enggak, tapi pemerintah belakangan hari ini membangun kayak bukan PLTA, PTA, ya, kalau nggak salah, pusat terapi autisma di berbagai kota yang gabung sama puskesmas. Tapi ya itu tidak merata, masih belum merata semua daerah di Indonesia untuk dapat bisa.
The government do not provide funding for the families to access these therapies, but recently they've been building a center that integrates with the medical center in small towns.
Tapi karena banyaknya orang yang membutuhkan dan tempatnya yang tersedia cukup sedikit, jadinya tetap saja pelayanannya tidak maksimal.
However, because the amount of kids that need the treatment is not balanced with the facilities that they provided, so that's why so many kids are abandoned or they are forgotten and they cannot access this treatment until they grown up.
Is there any stigma of autism in Indonesia?
Apa ada stigma tentang autisme di Indonesia?
Ya, banyak pasti. Iya, kayak autisme itu adalah sebuah penyakit. Terus ya stigma kayak anak yang tidak diharapkan. Ya, hal-hal seperti itulah masih banyak.
There are a lot of stigma that sticks with the kids with autism, such as it's a sickness that needs to be treated, so it can be cured. Also that it's like, oh, it's an unwanted children. That's what the stigma within the kids with autism among the families and societies.
Ya. Dan beberapa hari terakhir ini sebenarnya aku mendapati 2 orang kenalan aku sendiri yang baru mengetahui atau mencurigai anaknya itu autisma, dan mereka itu sangat ketakutan sekali membayangkan bagaimana masa depan anaknya dan lain sebagainya.
Recently, I've discovered 2 of my friends, and they have young kids of their own, and they just discovered that their kids might have diagnosed with autism, and they're very anxious of how are they going to grow up, how will they get treatment.
Are there any services available in schools?
Apakah ada service yang bisa diakses atau yang tersedia di sekolah?
Untuk terapi sendiri nggak ada, tapi sekolah-sekolah di Indonesia sebenarnya sudah menerapkan sistem inklusi, yaitu sistem yang menggabungkan antara anak-anak berkebutuhan khusus dengan anak-anak normal. Tapi masih belum maksimal gitu, kayak sampai situ dulu.
There's no specific treatment for the kids with autism at school. However, recently there are a lot of school that provides inclusion. So they integrate the typical developing kids with autism to study together. However, it's not really productive.
Sebenarnya ada sekolah, itu tadi aku maksudnya sekolah pemerintah ya. Tapi ada juga.
That's what I mean with a public school that government provides.
Yeah.
That's like a public inclusion school.
Dan dari pemerintah itu juga ada sebenarnya SLB kan, sekolah luar biasa untuk menangani anak-anak yang memiliki disabilitas, tapi beberapa orang belakangan hari ini kayak membicarakan kalau itu sebenarnya tidak cocok untuk anak-anak autisma yang memang memiliki disabilitas yang berbeda dengan anak-anak umumnya di Indonesia.
So we do have a special needs school from the government as well, but they tend to mix different types of special needs children, while we might know that kids with autism need specific treatment for them to be able to understand or like work together in a group classroom. So that's why some of the parents say that it might not work for their kids that have autism.
What's available for adults with autism?
Apa yang tersedia untuk individu dengan autisme yang sudah dewasa?
Ketika mereka tumbuh dewasa, kalau mereka memiliki backing, maksudnya mereka punya latar belakang keluarga yang bisa mendukung mereka untuk menjadi lebih baik, ada sebagian dari mereka yang memang diarahkan untuk menjadi kayak seniman, ya kan, atau kerja di tempat mereka sendiri gitu. Tapi rata-rata kebanyakan dewasa autisma di Indonesia yang memang tidak memiliki latar belakang keluarga yang cukup pendukung, biasanya mereka di rumah aja atau mungkin di asrama-asrama. Jadi ada tempat-tempat.
In Indonesia, it depends on the family support. So if the family has a good financial management, and then they have good resources for their own kids, usually they will train them to do a vocational training or to do, you can do baking or cooking or like specific work training that they can do for them. But most of the parents in Indonesia cannot really do anything for the adults with autism, so they usually ended up nothing, like doing nothing. They don't have any jobs, and they will just stay at home, or they might stay in a facility. Yeah.
Ronnie, how did you get started working with the autistic population?
Rani, jadi bagaimana kamu bisa berkecimpung di dunia autisme?
Saya memulai bekerja dengan autisma itu dari tahun 2011 ketika menjadi salah satu volunteer di organisasi non-profit, organisasi sosial di Jakarta.
I got into this field when I started working in 2011. At that time, I was volunteering in a non-profit organization in Jakarta for children with special needs.
Ya, dan di sana aku banyak belajar dan menemukan anak-anak berkebutuhan khusus langsung di lapangan.
Well, from that experience, I've learned how to teach and how to engage with the kids with special needs and with their challenging behavior.
Itu adalah pengalaman pertama aku untuk bisa bersama dengan anak-anak autisme.
That's my first experience on how I get on with these kids with autism and how I fall in love basically with kids with autism.
What exactly do you love about kids with autism?
Apa yang membuat kamu jatuh cinta dengan anak-anak yang memiliki autisme?
Aku tertarik sama anak autisma karena dunia yang mereka punya. Itu dulu.
I got really interested with kids with autism because they have their own world
bagaimana mereka memandang sekitarnya, itu membuat aku kayak, ternyata ada ya orang kayak gini gitu.
And how they perceive the world and how they like think about the world, it's very unique to me.
Dan yang ngebikin aku fall in love juga itu adalah karena nggak semua orang itu paham sama apa yang mereka ingin sampaikan.
I also got to know that not many of people, not many of us are able to communicate what do we want.
Padahal mereka itu sebenarnya sangat sederhana
Even
di
though
mata aku.
they are very simple, what they want is just like, they don't want anything fancy. It's just like very straightforward what they want.
And how did you start Rumah Tiara?
Dan bagaimana ketika kamu memulai Rumah Tiara?
Aku mulai Rumah Tiara itu bareng sama 2 orang yang lainnya, Angga dan Hotik.
So I started Rumah Tiara with 2 of my friends, Angga and Khatik.
Karena kami melihat banyak anak-anak yang tidak mendapatkan penanganan yang tepat untuk mereka.
Because we see that so many kids with autism that they don't get proper treatment.
Seperti beberapa klien pertama kita bergabung ke Rumah Tiara setelah mereka tidak mendapatkan sekolah yang dapat menerima mereka.
So the first few clients that we got, they were actually kids that were denied to go to the school because their behaviors.
Jadi beberapa lainnya adalah mereka yang sudah menerima terapi selama 4 tahun tapi tidak memiliki perkembangan yang cukup signifikan.
Or some of them, they've been receiving treatment for years, around like 4 or more, but still they don't see any progress for their own kids.
Terutama untuk orang-orang yang memiliki ekonomi yang rendah di bawah, karena mereka sulit mendapatkan akses penanganan perilaku yang bagus dari lembaga-lembaga yang ada di Jakarta.
Especially with the family that has financial problems, or they come from lower economical families, so they often really, really hard to get the treatment accessible for them because they cannot pay the amount of treatment that is like very expensive usually, especially in Jakarta.
Iya, dan itulah yang ngebikin kita ingin membangun Rumah Tiara karena kita pengen semuanya bisa tertangani dengan baik.
That's how and why we want to build Rumah Tiara, because we want them to get the same treatment with the other kids with autism.
What does Rumah Tiara mean?
Rumah Tiara itu artinya apa?
Rumah itu artinya rumah, sebuah tempat tinggal untuk sebuah keluarga. Artinya itu.
Rumah is house. Direct translation means a house. So a house is a place for a family to live.
Dan tiara itu adalah tiara, like crown, tiara. Ya, itu dulu.
And tiara, the direct translation for tiara is crown.
Jadi Rumah Tiara itu dibuat karena kita ingin anak-anak menjadi seperti ratu dan raja yang dapat diterima di Rumah Tiara seperti rumah mereka gitu. Ngerti nggak sih ngomongnya?
So in Rumah Tiara, we want them to we want the kids with autism and as well the parents that they feel welcome, like the king and the queen, that we respect them and they're very welcome and accepted by us.
When did you start Rumah Tiara?
Kapan kamu mulai membangun Rumah Tiara?
Kami membangun Rumah Tiara 2017. Tapi sebelumnya kita punya nama, yaitu High Five Center dari 2015.
So we previously, our center was High Five and it started on 2015. And then we changed into Rumah Tiara since 2017.
And Ronnie, did you face any challenges along the way?
Dan Rani, kamu apakah kamu mengalami challenge atau kesulitan ketika membangun Rumah Tiara?
Ya, banyak. Banyak sekali kesulitan yang didapat. Pertama karena saya memulai Rumah Tiara karena memang saya senang dengan dunia anak dan saya tidak siap untuk masuk ke bisnis.
Yes, I face so many challenges. The first one is I do like working with kids and I enjoy it. However, I wasn't really ready to involved in a business manner, like doing the management and all of this business stuff.
Ya, jadi kayak seperti contohnya manajerial atau sumber daya manusia, finansial, marketing, dan lain sebagainya itu.
Yes, such
Sangat-sangat
as
menjadi tantangan.
yes. So the challenges were I've had to manage the management, financial, and then the human resources as well as the marketing in Rumah Tiara since we started.
Tapi kita tahu kita bisa terus belajar.
So we know that we can keep learning and learning.
Belajar dari tantangan dan menjadi organisasi yang lebih baik lagi setiap harinya.
We will learn from this organization of ours and become better eventually.
Could you tell us any success stories related to students?
Kamu bisa ceritakan nggak ke kita cerita sukses kamu dengan murid kamu?
Mungkin satu cerita yang ngebikin kita terharu sampai saat ini, itu dulu sih.
Okay, well, there are a lot of success stories that we've had, but now I will share you the success story.
Ya, jadi ada satu anak yang dia sekolah di SLB. Jadi ada satu anak yang memang sudah sekolah di SLB dari beberapa tahun yang lalu. Dan dia mendapatkan penanganan yang cukup membuat seorang guru sedih karena dia harus diikat di kursi ketika dia mau belajar karena dia kerjanya kabur terus dari kelas.
So we have this one student. He's been going to the special needs school provided by the government for a few years, and it's just, if you hear his story, it will break any of the teachers' heart, because what they've been doing to him is that they tied him up on a chair because he's been escaping from the classroom each time they have to go to the classroom. So in order to make him do all the work and to go and to attend to the school, they will tie him up on a chair in the classroom.
Wow.
Ya, dan dia datang ke tempat kami sudah besar, sekitar umur 12 tahun. badan bongsor, laki-laki, dan kasar. Gak bisa diem. Itu dulu kali ya.
So when he came to us, he was already 12 years old, such a big boy with a big posture. And then he barely stands straight. And he has very aggressive behavior.
Ya, anak itu ketakutan sekali untuk masuk ke dalam sebuah kelas. Apalagi untuk duduk di bangku, ya itu nggak mungkin banget gitu kan. Ya, jadi akhirnya kita perlahan-lahan kita ajari dia dan kita bikin nyaman di center. Kayak pertama ngebikin dia nyaman dulu di center kan. Jadi dia pulang itu, yang lainnya pulang 2 jam, dia tuh pulang cuman sampai kayak 30 menit dia udah boleh pulang gitu. Sebelum dia nangis. Jadi kita pengennya bikin center itu jadi tempat yang bahagia buat dia.
Because he was so terrified with the classroom, so we were shaping his behavior using an antecedent intervention, that we were building up his behavior that wanted to stay in our center. So instead of staying for the full 2 hours with other students, he can go home like in 30 minutes in the first few days and weeks until he got used to and he's comfortable with the classroom settings with other students.
Mm-hmm.
Ya, dan itu berlangsung cukup lama sampai akhirnya dia tiba-tiba suddenly gitu dengan nyamannya masuk dalam kelas dan duduk langsung di, walaupun duduknya di meja gitu ya, tapi kita udah kayak amazed banget sama itu.
Apakah itu dia maksudnya dia sendiri gitu masuk ke kelas?
Iya, dia akhirnya bisa sendiri. Jadi tadi kan 30 menit ya, kan kita bangun terus-terusan sampai akhirnya dia bisa 1 jam, walaupun itu ada di luar gitu kan, dia di luar kelas. Jadi kayak dia gabung sama orang tua gitu kan, terus gabung sama kita di kantor kadang-kadang gitu kan. Pokoknya dia nggak masuk ke dalam kelas dia deh. Atau di parkiran gitu kan, belajarnya di sana. Tapi satu hari tuh dia yang 1 jam dia udah oke, ada di center kita, tiba-tiba entah dari mana gitu kan, dia ngikutin temennya untuk masuk ke dalam kelas dan akhirnya dia masuk ke dalam kelas terus ketawa-ketawa gitu kan, walaupun duduknya di atas meja tapi nggak apa-apa.
Dan berapa lama dia
Panjang.
di kelas?
Kalau sekarang dia udah bisa 15 sampai 20 menit. Kalau sekarang ya, sebelum COVID.
Okay. In the first few weeks, he was just around the center, like in our front yard, and he was like he can engage with us, even like he can go to our office, engage with the teachers, as long as we are trying to get him comfortable around us. It took us few weeks until one day he was following one of his peers going inside to the classroom by himself. And he was there laughing with the other student, and it made us so shocked, and we were so happy at the time for him, because it took a long time for us until he got to where he is now. Now he can stay 15 to 20 minutes in the classroom, and that's for us is such a huge improvement for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and thinking about what doors that will open for him. If then he's able to stay in the classroom for 30 minutes, for an hour, all of the teaching opportunities that can occur while he's there. Also learning from his peers.
Ya, itu merupakan hal yang sangat bagus ketika dia bisa mulai dengan 15 sampai 20 menit di awal, tapi kita tahu banyak sekali kesempatan dia untuk belajar selama 15 sampai 20 menit itu yang bisa kita ajarkan ke dia, dan untuk kedepannya tentunya dia bisa stay lebih lama di dalam kelas.
Ya, benar sekali. Kita juga yakin dan kita kayak masih ada harapan untuk dia bisa belajar lebih baik lagi.
Well, yes, we also hope that he's able to stay longer in the classroom and that he will eventually learn a lot.
So, how many students do you have at Rumah Tiara now?
Jadi berapa murid yang kamu punya sekarang di Rumah Tiara?
Sekarang kita punya 17 murid. Ya,
Now we have 17 active students in Rumah Tiara.
Do you offer other types of services other than applied behavior analysis?
Apakah kamu menawarkan servis lain selain terapi ABA?
Iya, seperti remedial belajar dan pendamping kelas.
Yes, we do offers other services such as remedial services and a shadow teacher.
Mhm. And how do you encourage your staff to follow the mission of Rumah Tiara?
Terus bagaimana nih cara kamu untuk encourage untuk dan bagaimana kamu memberikan semangat atau menanamkan visi dan misi kepada edukator di Rumah Tiara?
Oke, jadi pertama kali pasti dari sistem rekrutmennya kita akan memilih orang-orang yang memang sudah menyukai anak-anak dan perlahan-lahan kita beritahukan bagaimana kondisi dan anak-anak yang kita tangani dan apa masa depan yang akan mereka dapatkan ketika mereka mendapatkan penanganan yang baik.
First, when we are looking for our educators, when we're hiring, we want them to we want the people who already love with the kids and then know why is it important for them to why is it important for the kids with autism to get this treatment and what the future will be for them after they get a proper treatment.
Ya, dan dari itu semua edukator di Rumah Tiara seperti merasakan menjadi bagian dari kehidupan si anak itu.
And as well as we want the educators of Rumah Tiara can feel that they become part of the kids with autism's life. So they're not just like simply a therapist, but they are becoming a part of their life, like an important part of their learning.
Mhm. What outreach initiatives have you done to engage your community?
Jadi langkah apa saja yang sudah kamu ambil untuk outreach to the community, untuk kepada komunitas sekitar kamu?
Kayak kita memberitahukan anak-anak autisme itu seperti apa, karena di lingkungan kami sendiri, anak-anak autisme itu masih belum begitu banyak komunitasnya. Kami juga memberikan informasi-informasi mengenai penanganan perilaku dan kemandirian di Instagram kami, Instagram Rumah Tiara.
We outreach to the community around Rumah Tiara and how and raise their awareness about what is it that kids with autism and special needs, and we also try to share it in our social media through Instagram, raising and sharing the information about autism and what is it actually and how to how to get the proper treatment for the kids with autism.
Iya, dan kami juga melakukan kunjungan ke sekolah, ke TK-TK di sekitar center kami, dan berdiskusi bersama masyarakat di kegiatan Car Free Day di Bekasi.
Sometimes we also go to a local community kindergarten to spend time with the teacher and tell them, these are the symptoms if you for the kids with autism, and then again raising awareness of what is autism. And we also there is one day on every week, every Sunday, that we go and people walk around the town. It's a car free day on Sunday, and we go there with our educators. Again, we are raising awareness on Sunday morning to the people in our community.
How do you engage with the community? Are you going up to people and just talking to them? Are you giving them handouts? Or what is the interaction like?
Jadi bagaimana interaksi kamu ketika kamu mencoba menyampaikan informasi ini kepada masyarakat?
Ya, kita ngobrol sama mereka dan memberikan selebaran mengenai tentang autisma. Dan ya, itu aja.
Yes, we do approach them and then giving out handouts and brochure about just a simple explanation about what autism is, and then having a conversation face to face with the parents, so that they know about our center as well as autism.
Yeah, so you're literally on the ground doing the footwork.
Yep, jadi kamu benar-benar bertemu dengan masyarakat dan menjadi salah satu berada di garis depan untuk bisa membagikan informasi tentang apa itu autisme.
I think it's so important also to go to the schools, like you said you did, because it's essential to educate the teachers about autism so that they don't tie up students to chairs if they're trying to escape.
Ya, menurut aku itu memang sangat bagus apa yang sudah kamu lakukan untuk pergi ke sekolah-sekolah atau TK dan memberikan informasi bagaimana seharusnya anak dengan autisme itu mendapat perlakuan, supaya nantinya kita tahu mereka tidak perlu untuk mengikat anak di kursi untuk bisa belajar di dalam kelas.
So, Rani, changing topic, almost all of our partners had to shut down temporarily at some point during the last few months due to the COVID-19 pandemic. How has the crisis affected your center?
Jadi dengan adanya pandemi COVID-19 saat ini, kita tahu bahwa banyak center yang bekerja sama dengan Global Autism Project ini mengalami tantangan baru. Bagaimana dengan Rumah Tiara?
Ya, Rumah Tiara juga menghadapi tantangan yang sama. Kita menutup center kita untuk beberapa bulan dari sekarang, terhitung 3 bulan dari Maret, dan kita mengganti servis kita dengan servis online, menjadikan orang tua sebagai guru untuk anak-anak mereka di rumah.
Yes, since the COVID-19 started, we faced a challenge as well that we had to shut down our center. And now we've changed our services into teleservices, which make the parents to be the educator for their own kids.
Ya, dan kita tetap menjaga hubungan dengan parents, supervisi 2 kali seminggu.
We do maintain our communication with parents, and then 2 times supervision each week with the parents.
Kalau dari finansial pasti semua terdampak ya, karena pekerjaan orang tua juga sekarang jadi berkurang, PHK di mana-mana, jadi kita nggak bisa mengharapkan banyak untuk mereka bisa membayar uang masuk seperti bulan-bulan sebelumnya.
Obviously, it reflects on our financial because so many parents have lost their jobs and or struggling to earn for the income, and that also affect on our financial. So we predict that they might not be able to pay for the services in the upcoming weeks.
Do you have a plan for that?
Apakah kamu punya rencana untuk itu, untuk masalah finance ini?
Iya, pasti. Tapi kita menghadapi ini bersama-sama, dan kita mengharap, dan kita bukan kita berharap, bukan kita mengharap, kita bersyukur karena edukator kami juga memahami situasi yang terjadi. Ya, dan kita hadapi bersama masalah finansial, sehingga mau nggak mau kita harus meng-cut salary mereka per bulan supaya memang bisa disesuaikan dengan jumlah uang yang masuk ke dalam rumah Tiara itu sendiri.
We understand that we are facing this pandemic together, and that financial problems is rising in our center. We are really grateful for the educators that we have, because they have understanding that yes, this might affecting for their salary as well, but like we know that we are in this together, so I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, and it's also showing your leadership, Rani, because you've been able to keep everyone together and keep their spirits high and stay positive throughout all of this.
Dan itu sangat bagus sekali, Rani, karena itu menunjukkan bagaimana cara kamu memimpin dan cara kamu memimpin dalam rumah Tiara, dan menginspirasi edukator kamu pastinya.
Yeah. Well, no, aku ngerasa aku yang beruntung memiliki mereka sebenarnya.
Well, I feel that I am the one who is the luckiest to have them as my educators.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Rani, tell us about your partnership with the Global Autism Project.
Rani, bisa nggak kamu ceritakan tentang partnership kamu dengan Global Autism Project?
Ya, saya kenal Global Autism Project dari sejak tahun 2013 dan menerima pelatihan mereka untuk bisa menangani anak-anak berkebutuhan khusus dari skill corps yang setiap tahun datang.
So I know Global Autism Project since 2013, and I've been receiving their training ever since, every year since they come to our country.
Saat kita memutuskan untuk membangun High Five Center, Global Autism Project ada untuk mendukung kita. Itu dulu mungkin, Vin.
And when we built High Five in 2015, we were so happy that Global Autism Project still support us at the time and until now.
Ya, terutama saat kita mengganti nama menjadi Rumah Tiara di tahun 2017, kita menghadapi masa-masa terberat kita sebagai organisasi baru, dan kita bersyukur Global Autism Project ada untuk tetap mendukung kita menangani anak-anak yang sudah kita tangani sebelumnya.
And in 2015, when we changed our name from High Five to Rumah Tiara, again, as an organization, we faced so many problems, and Global Autism Project was there supporting us, giving us consultation.
Ya, jadi hubungan dengan Global Autism Project itu benar-benar ngebikin kita tuh kayak, ayo nih kita bisa maju bareng-bareng gitu untuk menangani anak-anak ini gitu. Jadi kayak kekuatan lah ya gitu.
So Global Autism Project gives us strength and power that we're gonna face this together, and they will always be there for us to support us to keep going and provide the right treatment for the kids.
Do you have any special memories from Skill Corps?
Apakah kamu punya memori yang spesial dengan Skill Corps?
Setiap Skill Corps pasti membawa kenangan-kenangan tersendiri. Nah, itu dulu kali ya. Nanti aku baru kebanyakan cerita.
Well, every Skill Corps has their own stories each time they visit Indonesia.
Ya, dan memori yang paling aku ingat itu adalah ketika pertama kali Skill Corps Indonesia datang ke Rumah Tiara untuk pertama kalinya gitu. Sejak kita ganti nama, itu dulu kali ya.
So one of the memorable Skill Corps visit was when we recently changed our name into Rumah Tiara in 2017, and it was very memorable to me.
Ya, karena di waktu itu Casey mengatakan sesuatu yang sampai sekarang masih aku ingat, bahwa Global Autism Project itu bekerja sama dengan sebuah organisasi, bukan perorangan, bukan saya, bukan Hotik atau bukan Angga, tapi Global Autism Project berpartner dengan sebuah lembaga yang memang ingin melanjutkan penanganan kepada autisme di Indonesia. Itu kayak ngebikin kayak, oke, baiklah, kita akan terus melanjutin ini gitu.
In that visit, Casey said to me, and and from that moment it stays in my mind that she said Global Autism Project working with an organization, they don't work with an individuals, but they work and support organizations and support them to be able to provide the right treatment for kids with autism. And we will, like, Global Autism Project will always support the organization.
Kayak perasaan aku tuh bilang tuh kayak, ini pertama kalinya ada orang yang mengakui Rumah Tiara itu sebagai organisasi. Ngerti gak maksudnya?
And since that, I feel like Rumah Tiara is acknowledged, and that's what makes us keep going to, going with this Rumah Tiara.
Jadi kita memberanikan diri untuk membuat organisasi baru atas nama High Five di tahun 2015, tetap bersama Global Autism Project. Tapi itu juga ada sesuatu yang terjadi di internal kami, sehingga kami harus mengubahnya menjadi Rumah Tiara. Dan kita nggak nyangka kalau Global Autism Project tetap mau mendukung kita sampai sekarang.
So initially in 2013, Global Autism Project supports a non-profit organization in Jakarta. And then there was a little conflict between the non-profit organization and the Global Autism Project. And Rani and her friends think that, well, Global Autism Project supports and provide, like a really a really good training for us. So it's an opportunity, and it's an opportunity for us to build an organization that would again provide the proper treatment for the kids with autism. So in 2015, when they had a clash, we encouraged ourselves to make a new organization called High Five. And then again, we had some internal problems that we had to change our name to Rumah Tiara in 2017. But still, like, I was surprised that Global Autism Project still commit to support us even though we've changed our names, and that makes me feel Rumah Tiara is really valued and accepted as an organization itself on its own.
What part of Indonesian culture do you like to share with the Skill Corps teams when they visit?
Ketika Skill Corps tim datang ke Indonesia nih, apa sih budaya yang sangat kamu sukai dan share ke mereka?
Kalau jadi bahasa Indonesia, pertama yang pasti makanan. Karena makanan Indonesia itu rata-rata enak-enak. Dan apa ya? Ya sih, kayaknya paling gede itu sih ya, yang dibagiin, yang di-share.
Karaoke.
Makanan dan ya, you got it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yes, I do want to share a lot of Indonesian culture with the Skill Corps team, but mostly it's food, because Indonesian foods are delicious and they're very tasty.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and karaoke, right? I've heard
Yes.
a lot of
Yes.
stories of teams coming back saying they've had so much fun with your staff at karaoke.
Yes,
Okay.
dan aku dengar dari Skill Corp yang berkunjung ke Indonesia bahwa mereka menghabiskan waktu bersenang-senang dengan edukator Rumah Tiara di tempat karaoke.
Ya. Kita tahu bagaimana cara bersenang-senang dengan baik dan benar.
Well, it's because we do know how to have fun together nicely and in a very fun way.
Yeah, I'm actually lucky enough to have shared a karaoke night with you, Ronnie, and Hotik and Janita. We attended Global Summit together last August in Bali, which was not so far for you being in Jakarta. What was it like for you to spend that week with all of the partners?
Bagaimana yang kamu rasakan ketika kamu datang ke regional dan global summit saat itu?
Spektakuler. Wah, rasanya amazing banget, karena aku akhirnya bisa ketemu sama seluruh owner dari faktornya Global Autism Project, dan ternyata kita menghadapi masalah yang sama gitu. Jadi aku ngerasa kalau aku tuh ternyata nggak sendirian di dunia ini.
It was very spectacular because in the summit I had the chance to meet with other business owners partnering with Global Autism Project, and I know I've come to realize that, like, I'm not alone. Like, there are people who's facing the same thing as me.
Ya, karena rata-rata di Indonesia itu bisnis owner itu kayak tutup dan menjaga bisnisnya mereka, ya kan? Jadi kita nggak bisa sharing banyak tentang itu.
because normally in Indonesia, the business owners they don't share their own like their own things. So it's like very like exclusive to their own organization. So I don't know what to do.
Jadi aku senang banget ketemu sama mereka dan kita berdiskusi banyak hal.
So it was such a great pleasure for me to be able to meet them, and then we discussed so many things and the challenges as a business owners.
Ronnie, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. I'd like to close with one last question. Do you have any advice for parents of children with autism or other business owners?
Rani, sungguh sangat menyenangkan bisa berbincang dengan kamu hari ini. Pertanyaan terakhir nih, apakah ada nasihat atau masukan untuk orang tua dan pemilik bisnis lainnya yang bisa kamu sharing ke pendengar?
Ya, untuk orang tua, pesan saya adalah jangan takut ketika memiliki anak-anak yang berkebutuhan khusus, terutama autisme, karena ada banyak hal yang bisa kita lakukan dengan mereka. Jadi tidak perlu berputus asa dan mengurung diri di rumah, berdiam diri dan tidak melakukan apapun.
Okay. Well, for the parents, I advise that if you have kids with autism or special needs, don't be ashamed. Don't lose your hope, because yes, it's tough, but there are many ways that there are many ways for your children to be able to learn, and don't lose your hope, because we will be here supporting you. Okay.
Oke, dan untuk pemilik bisnis, saran saya, bukan saran sih. Dan untuk pemilik bisnis, aku rasa kita mulai bisa membuka diri untuk bersama-sama berkolaborasi untuk menangani anak-anak berkebutuhan khusus, karena sebenarnya mereka jauh lebih banyak dibandingkan kita yang memang memiliki ilmu di bidang ini.
So for the business owners, I think it would be great for us to collaborate and to be able to discuss our challenges, because we know that the ratio of the kids with special needs is more than the services that are available. So that it would be great if we could work together to provide the right treatment for these kids.
Well, thank you both so much for your time. And Via, I just want to really thank you for all of the effort that you put into interpreting from Bahasa to English to Bahasa. I know it's really tiring, but you did a great job. So thank you.
You're welcome. It's been a pleasure to talk to you, Rachel, and to talk to Ronnie as well.
Mm-hmm. And Ronnie, I'll be seeing you during our monthly partner call.
Okay, I will.
All right. Take care. Thanks for tuning in to Autism Knows No Borders. Unfortunately, Ronnie's account of a student with autism being tied to his chair in order to increase his learning opportunities is far from uncommon. Even when such measures are well-intended, teachers and caregivers without proper training on how to manage behavioral challenges may often cause serious harm. During my first SkillCorps trip at an autism center in Uganda, I met an 8-year-old boy who had only been receiving services for a couple of months. His smile would reach from ear to ear whenever we would play chase, and he also loved washing dishes after lunch. Although he didn't have much verbal language, he would often repeat a phrase over and over again in Swahili. No one on our team spoke Swahili, so for a few days we wondered what he was saying. Eventually, a staff member translated it for us. It meant, "Are you a dog?" We went on to learn that this sweet boy had been tied to a tree in his yard for most of his life. People walking by would see him and call out, "Are you a dog?" His parents didn't tie him up to be cruel. Rather, they did it out of fear for their son's life. They simply didn't know how to teach him to not run away. There are too many stories like these in places where resources and education about autism are limited or barely existent. The community outreach initiatives at Rumah Tiara are truly inspiring. With each person they engage with on the streets, they're getting one step closer to ensuring that no children with autism are being tied up or mistreated in any other way. The lack of resources and education about autism is not limited to low-income countries. It is also the reality of many areas in the US and Europe. I invite you to share this episode with one other person in your life. Like Rani and her team, let's get on the ground and do the footwork to spread autism awareness. You've been watching Autism Knows No Borders. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Also, we'd love to hear from you, so let us know what you think in the comment section. Click here to watch another interview from our podcast. You can also find us on your favorite podcast app. Tune in each week for engaging conversations of how people across the globe are inspiring change and building community. Thanks for watching. Take care.